Is what I like to call a guest lecture. Start time now for Dr. Brett Matthews, everybody.
My favorite part of the show is shaking Dia's hand when I come to the stage. That's what I live for. All right, so who am I? My name is Gregory Matthews. I have a PhD, which means you can call me Dr. Gregory Matthews, and I will insist on it. Because when you get a PhD, as you know, if you have a PhD, you make everyone call you doctor. It's the only reason really to do one. And so what I like to do is I like to take the topic of the show, which is heat, and I like to do statistical analysis about it and present it to the audience. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about heat. All right. Not the movie, though. I just put that there. So what I won't be talking to you tonight, so when people think about heat, when the show was announced that we were going to do heat, people were like, oh, you got to do climate change. And I was like, I'm not going to talk about climate change. I'm definitely not going to talk about that tonight. And why am I not going to talk about that tonight? Because I've already solved this. Okay? Global warming is caused by Atlanta area sports teams winning games. If you remember from the December 2022 show, I did a whole thing about this. And you can see here, the Atlanta Braves, if you look at the Atlanta Braves season wins and the global average temperature, there's a very strong positive correlation. And this is also true of the Georgia Bulldogs season wins and temperature, and the Atlanta Falcons seasons and wins. And you're probably like, okay, Greg, you drew a line on there, great, it's positive, but it's probably not significant. Well, okay, let me show you some p-values. How about 7.16 times 10 to the negative 6? How's that grab you? And then you have this one right here, times 10 to the negative 11th. Then how about this guy, 0.00698? And then you're probably like, well, Greg, you did 3 tests. That's multiple hypothesis testing. What would you do if you did multiple hypothesis testing? What would you have to do? Divide by 3, Bonferroni correction. Boom, I still got you, still significant. Don't come at me with Bonferroni, I'm a statistician. Bonferroni's weak sauce. You should be using false discovery rate anyway. It's a way more superior, it's a superior paradigm. Benjamin Hochberg, Benjamin Ucatelli, anyone out there? Yeah. Can I get a round of applause for Benjamin Hochberg right now? Thank you. I like how she has absolutely no idea what's going on with the 0.06 and even less now. So what you can see here is that it's very clear. Okay, this is my final slide. I put it all together. And this work was published in the Annals of Uncontrolled Variables. It was rejected because the p-values were too small, and we don't publish things with p-values that small. But since it's a predatory journal, we have many sub-journals. This is the Annals of Uncontrolled Variables. And this is in journal volume 3, issue number 2 from 2022. You can watch the video on YouTube. There's a whole thing about it. But we're not talking about that tonight. By the way, if you go to the tinfoil hat Wikipedia page, I had a tinfoil hat when I was doing this. The picture on Wikipedia for tinfoil hat right now is me with that slide in the background. This is currently up on Wikipedia right now. Go ahead, look it up. That's really up there. I have a student who just tries to, every year for my birthday, he tries to put me on Wikipedia, and they usually get taken down, but this one is up for some reason. That's when I peaked. Okay, so if I'm not talking about global warming, what will I be talking about tonight? Let's think about the hottest things in the universe, okay? So let's brainstorm together. Okay, so what are some hot things in the universe? Well, we have the sun. That's about 5,800 Kelvin. I'm using Kelvin because it's more scientific, right? We also have things like the core of a dying star, 100 billion Kelvin. That's pretty hot. What's even hotter than the core of a dying star? How about quasar 3C273? It's about 10 trillion Kelvin. But what's the hottest thing in the entire universe? My wife. Let's applaud for me. I'm a hero. Thank you for your applause. I'm a hero. I'm an expert on relationships. She's right back there, and I think she may have injured her eyes rolling them so hard. I love you. She's recording right now. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the sun, and why are we going to talk about the sun? Just because it has the best data sets. I couldn't find any other data sets, so we're going to talk about the sun specifically. Oh, there's the sun. But specifically, we're going to talk about sunspots. Okay? So here's the sun, there's some sunspots on there. What are sunspots, Greg? Now, some people think, hey, are they herpes on the sun? No, this is a common misconception. I've heard this before too. I thought it was true, I looked it up, I Googled it, it's not true. The real answer is they're dark spots on the sun's surface caused by concentrations of magnetic field from deep within the sun, well up to the surface, right? But not a lot of people know that. They think it's the first thing. So to give you a sense of how big these sunspots are, we have the sun there, and we have Jupiter and Earth. So these things are really, really large. And I know it's hard for us to understand Jupiter and Earth and how big these things are. So I have a picture here that'll help you a little bit better. And this is a picture of a whale in front of the sun. People don't realize how big blue whales are. They can't understand it. But just to give you a sense of how big the sun is. It's from a whale fact on Twitter. There's a lot of good information on the internet. They're so big. You ever seen a blue whale? They're gigantic. All right. So I went and found a data set. This is on Kaggle. This is an incredible data set. It's daily sunspot activity from January 1st, 1850 through April 30th, 2024. That's about 63,000 days. The average number of sunspots is about 83 with a median of 64. And we have an IQR of 21 to 128, and we have ranging from 0 to 520. So there are days where there are no sunspots, and there's days where there's a lot of sunspots. Okay? The first thing I did is I plotted this data, as all good statisticians do, and I look at date and I look at the counts. And the first thing I noticed is like, holy shit, there's a real cycle here. And does anyone know what this is? Does anyone know about cycles in the sun? This is real. There's something called the Schwab cycle, and it was confirmed in 1843, and there's a cycle of about 11 years of sunspots in the sun. This is all real. I'm not making this up. This is fucking wild. And the magnetic field flips each cycle, returning to the original position after 2 cycles. That's called a Hale cycle. That's all real. The sun's fucking crazy. Okay, so fast forward about 30 years, and there was an economist, William Stanley Jevons, and he published 2 highly influential articles. In 1875, he published an article on the influence of the sunspot period upon the price of corn and commercial crises in sunspots. And what his theory was that as there was more sunspots, it would affect weather patterns on Earth, which would affect corn prices, which was causing like economic downturns. So this is a real thing that he believed. This second article is published in the journal Nature, like the journal Nature. So he believed all this, and he like back in 1875 they were like, yeah, sure, that sounds like it makes sense. So today we call this sunspottery. It's largely been debunked as a pseudoscience. Economists actually use the term sunspot, meaning something completely different, right? They use it to mean things that might be related. They use it to mean things that are like, people might believe are related to the market, but they're not really because it's crazy, right? So there's this thing called sunspottery. And it's just hard to imagine how there could be any relationship between sunspots and the market today. But what if you were an applied statistician who only ever learned linear regression? What would we call someone like that? We'd call them an economist. That's the sickest burn. That's the sickest burn. Is anyone in here an economist? Okay, good. They suck. Okay. Oh, you're so upset about that. Okay. So what I did is I wanted to see if anyone was actually doing this anymore, and so I found an article called "Sunspots in the Stock Market: Some Empirical Evidence of Their Interdependence in Transition Countries." And I was like, well, this can't be real. This must be the other usage of the word sunspot. And then I was like, no, these people are econophys. They're into econophysics, and they actually talk about the genetic activity of Earth. This is a serious article that someone wrote. I don't know if it's serious, but they wrote an article about this, and they're really talking about sunspots in the economy and emerging markets. And so I was like, who are these people? And I Googled them, and these are the real results that I got. The first guy is a Serbian economist and politician. The second guy's Google result shows up as a hockey prospect. The next guy shows up as an aging handball goalie. So take that as you will. I don't know. That's what Google says those people are. So let me ask you this question though. But what if you were an economist and a crypto bro? What would that look like? Well, it looked like this website called FX Street. There's an article out there about how you should be investing you should leverage solar cycle 25. That's the current cycle that we're in. And here's my favorite part of this article. It says here's some trading tips. Stay updated with the NOAA forecasts. Match financial assets with the solar cycles. Identify and track the prime movements. And then the sun is a portal. If you stare at the sun long enough, you can communicate with interdimensional beings. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if that's exactly what it said. That's what I remember from that article. So are these people crazy? Let's go check. So let's first take a look at the financial markets, and then we're going to look at crypto. And here's what I get. So this is the yellow line here, or the orange line here, is sunspot counts over time. And this is IBM stock price. We get a correlation of 0.65. There's some real strong correlations here. Look at my p-value. It's very, very small. Okay? But Greg, that's only since 1905. Fine, let's look at all of it. Boom. It still doesn't matter. P-value, really, really close to 0. Correlation 0.1407. really strong correlations between IBM stock price and sunspot counts. I guess it works, right? Okay, Greg, I'm convinced. Great, now give me all your money to invest. I would happily take it and invest with my sunspot theory. Don't worry about the details. I've been doing this for years. I know exactly what I'm doing. But Greg, I'm nervous about investing in the stock market because the stock market is controlled by lizard people. Touche. What's the solution to that? Don't invest in the stock market. Be a crypto bro and invest in Bitcoin. All right, so let's see if sunspots are related to Bitcoin. So if you plot this is the same plot, sunspots, and this is the most recent downturn, and then we're in solar cycle 25 here. That's the blue line is Bitcoin price, and we see a correlation that's really, really strong again. This is crazy. These are all real numbers. Okay, so we're getting a really strong correlation. So look at this. It's a very strong positive correlation. We're in an up cycle right here. So we're at the end of a solar cycle, right? So and this is the counts we get. So every additional 1 unit change in sunspots is you get about $72 extra in Bitcoin's price. So what do we predict will happen? Well, we're at the end of a solar cycle. So this means Bitcoin should start to crash, right? And that's exactly what happened on Monday. Oh my God. I'm totally convinced now. This works. All right? I thought these people were crazy. But you know what I did? I did my own research, and I found out they're telling the truth. We should be all investing based on sunspots. So, okay, great. Sunspots control the market. We know this. But what controls sunspots? Let's think all the way back to the beginning of the show. What was controlling the climate change? Atlanta-based sports teams. What's controlling sunspots? The Atlanta Braves wins. So if we go and we look at this, we have the year down here, and we have the blue as the Atlanta Braves wins. Really highly correlated still. So the correlation's up there. We have a p-value that's 0.02. Still not good enough for Dia's journal, but it's still good enough for me. So this is a plot of the Atlanta wins versus the counts, and then we get this model right here. So this model is saying that for every extra Atlanta win, we get an average of about 550 more sunspots. Okay? Everything's significant. We're good to go. So what can we do? Now it's clear that Braves are causing sunspots. Braves wins are causing sunspots, and sunspots are causing Bitcoin prices to change. So what can we do with this? Well, we can use the Braves winning percentage to predict the price of Bitcoin, and then we can get obscenely wealthy and then liquidate all our assets and invest in a meme coin. Here's how we're going to do this. So if we look at the Braves' current record, it's 60 and 53. Their winning percentage is about 53%. And it's important to have 5 decimal points here. That's always important. We can project them to win about 86 games. This means we will predict about 23,000 sunspots. The price of Bitcoin should be 16,000 according to this model. But what's the actual price of Bitcoin right now? Does anyone know? It's about $59,000. And so what does that mean we should be doing? It means we should be selling Bitcoin. Do what Betty White does. And that's the end of this. That's right. What did we learn today? One, I'm an expert in relationships. If you ever need any help with relationships, I can tell you how to maintain one. Sell all your Bitcoin. Economics is just applied statistics using only linear regression, and the sun is a portal. Thanks, I'm Greg Matthews. Have a great night.
Get on for Greg one more time. Every one of you guys paid $10, and it's going straight to whatever Greg said. It's big money. Are you guys ready for your next comic?